Last week, the Orville had an episode where they visited a society that was very much a parallel to our own, except for one key difference. Whereas our society is a democracy based around a republic-style democracy, the society that they visited was a pure democracy. And that system translated to everything, including the legal process. So in this society, rather than there being a court of laws and needing to have files charged against you and such, if you received enough downvotes, then you could be prosecuted in the Kangaroo Court of Public Appeals. You would be given instead of a lawyer, something that is the equivalent of a defense attorney. And if you were still downvoted enough, then you would be sentenced to what is instantaneous rehabilitation. Now, why do I bring this up, and why do I have that title? It's because I feel that, I'm not sure if intentionally, but that Seth MacFarlane was rather prophetic with this episode, especially in light of the recent Hollywood happenings that have been the top of the news for the last 3 weeks or so. Now, this was a episode that was easily started production 6 months, a year ago. So either Seth MacFarlane knew something was around the corner, or, and this is more likely, he can see what's happening with society right now, and it's just a happy or unhappy, depending on your viewpoint, coincidence that this episode was released smack dab in the middle of this giant controversy. I have been watching the Hollywood shenanigans, and that's putting it as mildly as I can, since they started with Weinstein. And other than Weinstein himself, but this was back in 2015, I don't think anyone that's been accused has actually been brought up on legal charges. There have been no police reports filed, no criminal accusations. There have been lawsuit threats, sure, but welcome to America. Everyone gets sued. I am not trying to belittle this. I am not trying to say, oh, well, because they didn't press charges, that means that nothing happened. No, at this point, so many people have come forward with so many stories. The odds are not in your favor that all of them are untrue. I figure one of them has to be true, if nothing else, given the law of large numbers. Something somewhere has to be true in all this. They can't all be lies. Whether they're all true or not, that's another story. But as far as none of them being true, that at this point, that's just statistical improbability. But again, my issue is I've seen no criminal charges. I've seen no police reports. I've seen nothing brought to any court of law. And that kind of frightens me. Because as it stands right now, this is just the Kangaroo Court of Public Opinions. And that is not something I want to see happen in the future. We've already seen this in small doses. There will be a person that does something that the right people don't like, and they will go on social media, find out this person's job or something, and try and get them fired. And that's basically what's happening here, except that we all know what these people do because they're in Hollywood. They're celebrities, they're producers, they're actors. We know what their job is. So it's no hard work at all to get them thrown out of their job. I mean, hell, look at most recent example, Kevin Spacey. The first accusation. It just took one. Season 6 of House of Cards was put on hold, and any future seasons were postponed. The studio that was making this, I'm not sure if that's Netflix or a studio within Netflix, actually made sure to go around to the rest of the crew to make sure that they themselves weren't assaulted in some way by Spacey. One accusation. Now, we've seen a lot of other accusations after this. So, it looks like they had the right idea. The issue is, they were still wrong to do this when they did it. Just because they are now retroactively right does not mean that they were right at the time. One accusation is all it took, and they shut everything down and made sure that nothing else happened. So either A, this is all it takes anymore, and that's fucking scary, or B, the studio knew about this and didn't give a flying fuck until it became public knowledge, at which point they went into, oh shit, we have to save face and look like we care mode. Which is worse? I want to see legal charges. I want to see police reports filed. I want to see court dates. We cannot have a society built around the kangaroo court of public opinions. If that's the case, just bring back lynch mobs. Why not? Oh, because lynch mobs are really killing someone and this is just throwing them under the bus. We're not too far out from that. With the regular Joes, you destroy their livelihood. You've destroyed any kind of reputation they had over something, in a lot of cases, where it was so innocuous, the thing that they said, that they have no way of providing for themselves anymore. You might, in the long term, you've killed them. It's really ridiculous that this is what our legal system has become. We are no longer a society that values innocent until proven guilty. We have completely reversed that. We are now guilty until you prove yourself to be innocent. And with rape and sexual assault accusations, that's kind of hard considering it's largely a he said, she said, he said, whatever the case. And it's more a matter of who do you believe. Without there being police reports, without there being files charged, without anything legally happening like that, it's largely going to be, who do you trust more? Whose word do you take? In 5 or 10 years' time, if things continue at the rate that they are, I can see the society that the Orville portrayed as being our own. And again, that scares the living shit out of me. Especially because we are, in a lot of ways, a very apathetic society. We are a very herd mentality society. We will just follow whatever the popular public opinion is. And if that should destroy someone who is falsely accused of something, oh well, that's just the price you pay. So, I believe that someone, maybe even a lot of people, have been, well, probably a lot of people, have been done wrong in Hollywood. File charges, please. Do something legally. Don't just go to social media and try and throw them under the bus, which, by the way, that is not going to work in the grand scheme of things. Because you're trying to make it so that people who are worth tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars, can no longer work. Oh, how are they ever going to survive? You just can't live off of $100 million in today's society anymore. It's impossible. I think they'll survive. Whereas jail, that's not something they like. That would be a bit of a deterrent from them doing it again and other people doing it again. Because at the end of the day, with celebrities, if you don't file charges, you're basically just enabling other powerful figures to do this because they can get away with it. They can buy it off at worst. Jail time scares the living shit out of them because that takes them out of their posh lifestyles and throws them into the gulag with the rest of us schmucks. But I digress. I want the legal process to work. It isn't perfect, but it works, and it needs to work as it needs to continue to work as it has to some extent. You can't just overturn it and go to the public opinions because, well, it's not fast enough. I'm sorry, it's slow. I really am. That sucks. I agree. You gotta do what you gotta do, okay? Otherwise, we are just going to be thrown into absolute chaos, and that is not something that is going to be pleasant. This has been Math Machine, just wanting to see someone file police charges, which is a very weird sentiment to have, I fully admit. Peace out.